in knowing that. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Mind of a Madness podcast with myself and Sean. Sean.
Hello one, hello all.
Yes.
I come in.
Hello. Peace and prosperity. Welcome back, and I guess we'll jump straight into the deep end as we do with the news for this week, because it's been such a wonderful week. For news.
I suppose first of all we'll focus on the lockdown very briefly, I suppose, not too long on it, but because we have focused on it through numerous weeks.
Of course.
But I mean, it's just because things are changing all the time, I suppose.
Yeah, no. This week more so than what we normally have.
Yeah. I suppose briefly from last week, I suppose a little bit cut off last week. So just the general kind of positive vibes about it, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's still, the end is in sight still, I suppose.
Stuff goes to plan anyway.
It's a bit more positive. There's a bit more, hooray, we're getting out of it now.
But do you think they're still rushing it too much? Honestly,
I suppose so. But on one hand, you're happy that things getting eased. On the other hand, you're like, oh god, I really don't want to catch this deadly virus that they don't seem to have any control of.
It's like, do we be more careful, or do we try and take the risk and possibly, prosper from it?
So there are vaccine trials going on, apparently going well. Like, there's a Chinese study that's like 99% sure that they've got one vaccine that'll work, but we'll see. I'll take all that with a grain of salt.
yeah, of course.
Like, alongside this kind of positivity and getting out of lockdown, there's like this kind of distrust of government going on as well.
Oh, can you blame people? I mean, Christ. The biggest news of this week is Dominic Cummings, that arsehole who didn't even listen to the own rules that he put in place, because apparently he was trying to find a place for his kids or something to be looked after.
It's a child concern.
Fucking ridiculous.
The message was then stay at home for like all but essential reasons, and he decided at the risk of not being able to look after my child, I mean, I still can look after my child, but I'm going to drive up 240 miles to Durham to see my family and to stay with them. But it's like, technically I wasn't staying with them because my family has another barn that we stayed in, and technically we didn't go for a walk in the woods because it's my father owns that woods. One rule for them, one rule for everyone else.
It's complete bollocks, and I'm pissed off that Boris hasn't fucking done something about it. Instead, he made a bullshit little speech on how he did the right thing and he was doing it for his family. Fuck off, Boris. You have been useless for these last few weeks. Ever since he actually suffered with the virus and then came back, all he has been doing is mistake after mistake, in my opinion anyway. But he's been making just mistake after mistake. He's not showing us any kind of reason to trust him anymore. Like, he's kind of just thrown it all out, and admittedly, I mean, Keir Starmer, obviously the new Labour leader, he's really been testing Boris's kind of strengths and weaknesses in questioning him and stuff. But even he now is being called to deal with someone from the Labour Party who hasn't broken the rules, and he's not doing it. Like,
it's like this elite and then the normal people.
Exactly, it's not right, man. And I don't know, I'm struggling to kind of... I think that's the problem I now have, is trusting the government to do the right things. So I'm just kind of sticking to my own rules, the rules that I've got for myself, kind of thing. I'm finding myself trusting those more than I'm trusting the government, who's meant to be helping us get back into
they say like, oh well, lots of people have broken the rules, but it's like one thing for you to break the rules in like a minor way, and then another thing for the person who makes the rules to break the rules.
What's been your take on it?
It's just that general one rule for them, one rule for everyone else, I suppose. I feel like it's knocked my trust for them. I was all for Boris at the start, but now I'm not feeling it anymore, really.
That was my kind of feeling on it. But to see both sides of the coin, let's try and see it from their side, I guess. Could you possibly see a reason as to why he wouldn't just be like, okay, you're sacked or you're gone? Do you think that maybe it would cause problems for behind the scenes for him? Maybe that's why he's kind of not doing it? Or do you think that they've got a plan, which is they're kind of trying to fit it in so it makes him not look as bad? Well,
I think Dominic Cummings must be just like some kind of holy grail for for Boris Johnson for him to keep him, because it's like putting one man's privilege above the health of the nation.
Mad.
And so maybe either that or Dominic has some dark secrets that Boris is wanting to a little conspiracy that Boris is wanting to cover up. It's like they've just gone, oh well, it's up to you. The problem is solved now.
Yeah.
Look after yourself. We're just powerless in that. So. It's like it's old news now. It's Monday, God's sake.
It is a bit mental, but possibly onto a little bit of brighter news. I guess for Wales at least, anyway, is that on Monday the lockdown restrictions are being eased for us again, but quite drastically. We can now go out within a 5-mile radius and meet up with friends or family as long as we keep the 2-meter distancing rule.
It's being with like another household or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's something like we can go out as long as it's not like a big crowd and you're sensible. And I only read a small amount on it, but obviously I think the article you sent in the group chat, obviously I had a quick ganders.
That's basically the official lines of it.
Which I don't know. Part of me thinks it's a good idea for the family kind of thing. I think it's going to relieve a lot of pressure for a lot of families who want to go and check on their loved ones, make sure they're okay and everything. But I think the fact they're including friends into it, and let's not beat around the bush here, we all know people are not listening to these rules anyway, and they're meeting up with friends and whatever. But I do think making it a thing and not opening like public spaces like parks and stuff is just going to encourage people to break those rules then. Just go to parks and stuff anyway and say fuck it.
I know. And the fact that there's no limit on the amount of people that are together within these two households, so there's no way to police it. You can basically just do what the hell you want.
Yeah. If police catch you, you just say, oh, well, they're all from one household and we're all from one household. We're just visiting each other.
Yeah. And the big thing that I think it's more kind of aligning with England now, so everything's kind of like merging a little bit.
I'm not too sure in Scotland and Northern Ireland.
They have similar things in place. So Scotland, you can meet up to 8 people from a different house or something. And Ireland, I think, I don't know, similar. It's very similar. But they're all like, don't you go, God, there's tiny little differences.
Yeah.
Like, well, you can go to the toilet in England in another person's house, but you can't in Scotland.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously the English rules have changed a little bit. The big thing is like now you can go into people's gardens.
Yeah.
And then Boris made the blunder of saying that everyone can have barbecues.
See, this is the problem. I admit I haven't really been paying attention. Kind of just updates on like titles and stuff I've been seeing. I actually didn't know that. Did he literally make a statement being like barbecues for one and all?
in front of like the chief medical officer, who was like, no, you can't really, because there's a lot of contact in that, passing plates around, passing knife and fork, passing your sausage over.
Sausage.
So it's like. The real advice is that you can go to people's gardens, but you should really bring your own food, your own cutlery. It's literally just to stay there, not for parties, and that will incite drinking and all this.
It's like, just be sensible. I think that's the problem, is that the government are trying to lay down these rules and stuff, and people are taking them too literally. I think people need to start understanding that a lot of it comes under common sense. If they're saying you can go out and meet a friend, just keep the social distancing rules. It's not hard. Stick to that. There won't be a problem. But I think there's so many people that are going to want to go out and are going to want to do stuff that keeping that 2-meter distance rule, not just between the people you're meeting, but everyone else, is what's going to become a problem very quickly.
Definitely.
I don't know. I'm not surprised Boris blundered up again. I mean, Christ, he blunders.
Yeah, it's like 3 steps forward and 1 step back every day.
Every time he opens his fucking mouth, he says something stupid.
And then it's like he ignores all the reporters and not allowing them to have follow-up questions because he wants to protect his mate. It's like, and he just ignores them. It's so funny watching the reporters have like sass and like funny questions like, to your chief medical officer, would you drive 50 miles to check your eyesight? It's like stuff like that.
I do get it, because to be honest, I'm kind of glad the press are putting that pressure on him, because quite rightfully so, and the same pressure should be put on Keir Starmer as well. If you've got people in your party that are not listening to those rules and are blatantly, and I think I'm not too sure about the timeline of when Dominic broke the rules. It was quite early on, apparently.
Right in the
which
thick
is
of it.
even worse. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there has to be. I think I read something that apparently he was going to hand his own recognition in or something. I can't even say the word.
Apparently, in
that
his
didn't
press
happen.
conference, he didn't even consider resigning.
Yeah, it was something like, apparently he had like a quick meeting with Boris. Boris was probably like, "Oh, don't worry about it, old bean. We'll just stir the pot a little, add a bit of water, make a pot noodle, and we'll be fine."
I'll sort you out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure there's some behind the scenes politics bullshit going on, which is just going to protect him. But there we are. That's it, isn't it?
And the reporters were trying to ask the chief scientific officer and chief medical officer questions, and Boris was like, "I must intervene here. I'm not going to let them answer because they shouldn't be getting involved in politics and things." It's like, suspicious.
Yeah,
he won't even let them respond, like, because he knows deep down what his mate did.
He knows he'd be called out on it, and he knows that
the police have said it as well. Like, he broke the rules.
It's one of those things that I think at this point Boris is just trying to control everything. He needs to have everything under control, because if he doesn't, he is going to look worse than he ever has. I think he knows that he's messed up. I think he knows inevitably when this is all over, he's going to be in trouble. And I think he knows that he's not going to get re-elected.
I don't think he'd want to be re-elected, because the state of the country would be in after this.
Oh Christ! Well, do you, off of COVID very quickly, just briefly. Obviously, we haven't really touched on Brexit since we started this podcast and stuff. But obviously, recently there was some news about how they wanted to actually put a 2-year extension on Brexit to kind of, because of the coronavirus, make everything, the transition, a bit easier. And Boris is outright refusing to let it happen. Stupid, or
politics,
just trying to do what? Do you think he's doing it because he genuinely thinks, oh no, the people want to leave, we have to leave on this date, we have no choice? Or do you think he's just being a bit ignorant and a bit arrogant at this point, and he's just trying to prove a point?
Probably a bit of both, because it's his mantra when he came in, like, we're going to get Britain out here.
Yeah, we're going to leave.
So he's like delivering on that, otherwise he's going to be a prime minister who doesn't deliver on the things he says. But also a bit of ignorance, and it's like, there are more important things right now. Who gives a hell of a damn about Brexit right now?
Yeah, I think Brexit is as important, as stupid as the vote was. I'm a avid Remainer, but I do see the benefits of leaving. Absolutely, I do think we should wait until this COVID-19 virus is a lot more handled and kind of in a position where we can at least have a semi-normal life again before. Because I think trying to leave now was just going to cause even more issues. I think we've already left, though, I believe. I think it's just kind of the transitional period we're in now. Well,
it feels like a never-ending transitional period, to be honest, I think.
Yeah, as we're going on for 2 years, isn't it?
We're just like 1 foot out of the door, 1 foot in the door.
Yeah.
Best of both. And the economic ruin that will be left behind by this virus will be well and truly screwed for this country. We'll be in the biggest recession, since the war.
Yeah. It's a tricky one. It's not an easy thing to talk about. I think the last thing I have, at least on the news and kind of stuff like that, I don't know if you've got any more, we can obviously go into it if you have, is that obviously Boris is being urged by Tories to relax the 2-metre rule. Very senior head Tories as well, Tories that have been doing it in politics for many years, but obviously I think that's more just trying to stop job losses and the economy and stuff.
Like, a lot of the science is like 1 metre is like adequate, but 2 meters is like, you can still get it, but it's like more safe, So that's why they went with the 2 meters. But you can't do tubes, you can't do trains, you can't do public transport with 2 meters distancing. Basically, like, it's not possible.
It's not.
So it's like, what do they do? I suppose. 1 meter might just be manageable, but
I have seen diagrams and stuff of things of like insides of pubs and things where they're showing like meters and things like that, and I think they said if they could open if they had a 1 meter distancing rule, they could open 3/4 of restaurants, pubs, things like that safely.
That would at least keep everyone above the breadline, I suppose.
And it would kind of allow the economy to sort of start rising slowly, I guess. Whether or not I don't know the science and stuff behind it, but the 2 meter rule has proven to work. I mean, if it's at a laxed enough point, maybe that there's not really any deaths anymore, and there's not really any, overwhelming of the NHS. Maybe.
That's when crucial stuff like that, should be looked at.
Yeah.
There needs to be no risk or very minimal,
Yeah, it has to be the smallest risk that they can imagine.
Oh yeah, and one more point about the economic stuff. I think we've borrowed more in 1 month than we have been like any other year. So that's to put into perspective how much money we're borrowing for all this furloughing and job retention and stuff, and all the stuff that the government is paying for right now. So
it is a lot of money.
We're going to be in a massive recession.
Well, I know Christ, look at the first package that we put in. It was bloody huge. I think that was a good amount of our GDP. They never actually released a kind of statement on it like America did. Obviously, America was like when they put the I think it was 2 trillion in. I know they've put another 3 trillion in, but when they put the 2 trillion in, they were like, that's 10% of our GDP, by the way. That's like 10% of all the money we have. It's interesting that the UK hasn't released any major figures as far as I've seen.
Yeah, they're all in the background somewhere.
Probably a lot, though, I imagine.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh yeah, it's like I think 80 billion or something. It was some figures wandering around my head, but I don't know, something like that.
A lot of money.
And it's extended on all these like biker schemes to get people to bikes and all these things that are just adding to it.
Biker schemes are stupid. I mean, we discussed that in a previous one.
Oh yeah.
Into it, but it's so ridiculous. Just because Boris likes bikes.
I suppose one final thing on lockdown is which I had. It's obviously the English and Welsh rules are eased further, but I'm not sure how logistical it is for families who live in Wales, especially further than 5 miles apart, and who live in England and Wales, like on the border, like me, my situation, and my sister. Yeah. She lives just past the border in Wales, and we live in England, obviously. How does that work, So I still can't see her because, she'd have to pass the border and she's only allowed to go 5 miles.
Yeah.
It's just, why? What is the point of this 5 mile thing? It's I understand, I suppose, on one side, but on the other, it's you want to keep it local, but people are going to be going all over the place anyway.
Yeah, well, this was kind of my thing of, people are just not going to listen to it anyway, are they? Let's be real here,
Yeah.
People haven't listened to it so far, and you're easing it even more. People are going to push those boundaries even more now because they're eased more,
Yeah.
So,
and plus, the distrust of the government is going to make them ease it even more.
Exactly. It's kind of like I have to stick into my own bubble.
Yeah.
I got my rules. Off.
Well, you're staying local.
Yeah, I am legal.
Yeah. And there's a thing about all this lockdown easing being a bit of conspiracy to take away from all the drama that is happening in politics and the government right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be the fact that they're rushing it to get our minds off it,
Maybe. Maybe they're pushing certain things more so that about this virus and stuff, so that it takes away from kind of certain aspects, I guess, of the government and what's going on. But I fucking ridiculous that the entire thing is a conspiracy and they're trying to cover everything up. I think there's enough evidence to prove that's a load of bullshit. But absolutely, they're using it as an excuse to avoid certain topics. Absolutely.
Well, that's that conspiracy after winter.
That's what we've got at the end of this podcast. But yeah, no, absolutely, they're probably using it as an excuse to sort of avoid certain things. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, probably rushing it a little bit.
Yes, I think they're sort of neglecting some of the evidence just to try and open up the country and the world and stuff a bit quicker. And I think they think they're just because they've managed to get over the first peak, they're being a bit cockier with it. And obviously, scientists have already said if you do this, you're risking a second peak, and it's more likely to happen. But yeah, I guess that's up to them, innit?
It's a tricky line that they've got to cross with that one.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that is lockdown.
All over.
Game over.
So we're going on to what we're going next.
On to news.
Ooh,
general news. Outside of lockdown.
Okay, go on.
So I shall start with the whole Minneapolis fiasco with the death of George Floyd.
Yeah, Jesus. That is a heavy topic you were talking. But go on, no, I've seen quite a lot on this. So. I have been watching it.
Obviously, there is massive public outrage in the States about the death of this black gentleman.
Yep.
Killed by a white police officer by kneeling on his neck for 9 minutes.
Yeah, have you seen the video?
I can't bring myself to watch it yet. I might watch it.
I think I saw clips of it. I watched Philip DeFranco on YouTube, so he was covering it, and you see the way they treat him is just ridiculous, and it's so disgusting that this shit is still happening. Come on, you're meant to protect the people, not fucking hurt them. Like it's.
I know, especially in a time like this, everyone's supposed to be united and treated fair, like human beings, you know.
Yeah, no.
But obviously, this has caused mass outrage, fires, riots. Yeah. They burnt the Minneapolis police station down. Obviously, only recently they've only just arrested the police officer responsible for the killing. So to think that they were actually not going to do that, you know?
Yeah, I think that wasn't it something like him and 3 other police officers got put on leave, or they got struck off or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, they got fired or something, but really manslaughter.
Yeah.
Where the hell do they train to have the authority to do
what was
that?
Really interesting about it is the 2 officers you don't see on the video, they actually never had a complaint put against them in their life. Not the officer that was standing on his neck, I apologise, I can't remember their names and stuff, but the second...
it's not worth remembering the name.
Yeah, no, fuck them.
Piece of shit.
the second officer, the Chinese one, I believe, he... I think he had 11 complaints against him or something, and the dickhead that obviously, killed a man, because that's what he did, he killed him, it wasn't manslaughter, that's complete bullshit. I think he had something like 18. How many complaints do you have to put in before you're struck off? That to me seems very strange, why 11 and 18?
The police over there have some kind of elite authority over the people. Yeah. There's all sorts of tales of corruption and stuff with the police over there. And, it's all kind of traditional, sheriffs of the town and
many famous people deaths.
They are the law.
Conspiracies to it. Los Angeles, I think back in the day was a really rough place to be for people if you weren't a cop. The mob obviously used to own a lot of the police and things. I mean, Al Capone is one of the most famous people for being able to do that. I think this particular situation is sadly nothing new, and I say sadly very heavily because it happens so often. I mean, Christ, this isn't the first time this has happened. It's not going to be the last. Unfortunately, there are just some disgusting racist pieces of crap out there that want to...
I can't believe who would do something like that in this day and age, Yeah. No. Be so casual about it, and he's getting filmed and all sorts, and then his acquaintances are standing there watching, allowing this to happen.
What shocks me is in the footage, what you see is obviously he's on his neck. This guy is crying out. He's like, I'm in pain, man. I can't breathe. My body hurts. Blah blah blah. And I get it. If he was doing it for attention and stuff, some people when they get arrested do that. But this guy isn't even trying to fight back. He's just lying there, and his knee is right on his neck, all his weight. And then literally there are people around, man, get off his neck, as Americans do. Dude, get off his neck. And then people start walking forward just to kind of be like, look, get off his neck. And the other officer, he pulls out a mace can to spray people, fucking coward. And then the other officer gets in their way. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.
That's just the authority they have, isn't it?
It's so frustrating because I think what upsets me is when I watch stuff like that, I try to keep a level head. Especially now we're doing this podcast, I like to kind of talk about the stuff and get it out there. But I like to talk about it in a way where it's like I'm not letting my emotions get the best of me. But my God, the first thing that came to my head was I would just knock the bastards out. I'd swing for them. But you just know, well, you'd be shot or you'd be put in jail for life. You can't win. It's such a corrupt system. When it comes to that, it's kind of why I'm a bit grateful for the police we have in the UK. I mean, they're not perfect, don't get me wrong, but I think we cause them more problems by drinking than over there. But
I'm glad we don't have a gun culture in this country as well, because that doesn't help.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm glad of that, to be honest. I mean, let's face it, in the UK we're always angry. If we had guns, it'd be a lot worse. But I think I don't know. I can't understand. What gets me is the complaints thing. Why have a complaint system if you're just going to let cops still roam around when they've got 11 complaints on them? Why is this not being checked more often? Or is it, as you say, a lot more corruption? Is that still a thing now? They still just sort of going, brush it off, it doesn't matter. Like, that to me seems so ridiculous.
Yeah, well, it's just like that similar thing with every kind of elite organization. They cover up their own. They don't want things to look bad, and they don't want things to happen to their own. So yeah, he'll get away with it until something like this happens where you can't get away with it, and it's public outrage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's ridiculous.
But yeah, so the police officer responsible, the one who actually kneeling on his neck, has been arrested now.
Yeah, good.
And should probably get locked up for life.
I admit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
There's no justifying it.
No, it wasn't self-defense. It wasn't manslaughter. The guy wasn't attacking you. There was even footage of them going to the car when they were parked on the side, and they sent 2 people out. They went in. 2 people left the car and went to the side. They arrested him. They sat him down next to the wall. He wasn't fighting them. He wasn't being aggressive. No reason. It just and ironically, were they wearing body cams? Oh, no, they weren't. How ironic! Silly me. What a knee slapper. I forgot to put my camera on for the day when I knew I was going to kick the shit out of a black man. Gosh.
Thank God for technology and people recording this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, absolutely.
Needs to happen.
This shit shouldn't be happening anymore, and it's disgusting that racism is still a thing in this day and age. I don't get it. Don't get it.
Well, we'll move on from that one. Park that for now.
Hopefully something.
Just park it over here.
Something happens sooner, and we'll learn something new.
Yeah, where the fuck this deep came from.
Yeah, exactly. But anything else on news?
Trump versus social media.
Oh Christ! Yeah, no, I've seen this. Oh fuck! They put a fucking thing on his tweet because he
fact checker on 2 of his tweets.
Because he was lying. He was feeding false information about voting polls.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, they're attacking me. Oh, it's affecting free speech." Yeah, when you spread bullshit, that's what happens, you fucking knob. There's no. Oh, that man has become a walking orange. He just. I don't think he could say or do anything right anymore.
It's ridiculous. He's trying to lobby to put something on social media, stopping censoring things.
And it's actually going through as well.
I know, because he's the president, he's the big boss, so he can do what he wants.
Mad. I do. Mark Zuckerberg, when he piped in on it, fuck off. You little arsehole, you stole the entire idea of Facebook and then made it a thing. And you're saying, oh no, we would never do that to a president. Well, no, of course you wouldn't, Mark. You lick his arsehole to get paid for it. And then I do like the fact that the guy, I believe his name's Josh, who owns Twitter and made Twitter and stuff, he put out a few tweets along the lines of, basically disagreeing with Trump, saying, no, we didn't. We just put fact checkers on there because you lied. So... Yeah. I'm glad he's standing by his guns and he's not just bowing down just because Trump's the president of the United States or whatever. That's refreshing to see.
Yeah, no one is above the law and just general common sense, I suppose.
Yeah, something he clearly does not own.
From China.
What's your view on it?
Yeah, you can't suppress social media. That's the thing. That's how he gets his following, basically.
Yeah. Suppress social media. I'll never have a platform.
Yeah, that is his platform. He claims all about this fake news, you can't trust official sources, so you go to social media. But now, oh no, social media puts fact checkers on things I do. So yeah, he can't. This law that he's trying to get through, it's not going to go anywhere. I don't think.
I hope.
I mean, and if so, it's only in the States, hopefully.
Well, yeah, I think it is just the States. I'm pretty sure in the UK we're very, very lucky that we don't have a lot of that bullshit, and
then whoever's the president after him will we'll have a bit of a spaghetti wire situation to unpick.
I feel sorry for whoever becomes president next, because they're going to spend their 4 years fixing the shit that he's messed up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
like he's unravelled most of what Obama did. And okay, not all of Obama's stuff was great. I get it. But I mean, Jesus, at least that man had a soul, and he cared, and he actually gave a shit about the people he was trying to help. Like,
yeah,
Trump don't give a crap about anyone. He just wants what he wants. He's like a big baby,
Wants what he wants and wants to protect his rich friends.
Oh yeah, no, he's just.
That will lead me into something I'm talking about later.
Oh, interesting.
But
not right now.
Not right now. That's it for my news. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
I was just going to briefly go on to a bit of celeb news. Gossip. Obviously, I'm certain that you've heard about the Amber Heard and the Johnny Depp situation and all that kind of stuff that's gone on for the longest time. First of all, Amber was accusing Johnny of being violent, aggressive, and abusive, and then it came out that actually Amber was the one that was being But apparently, Amber Heard has actually confessed to smashing a door into Johnny Depp's head and clocking him in the jaw. I haven't actually read the article or anything, so I've not got like much kind of detail on it and stuff. But from the evidence that we have seen, so like pictures of Johnny Depp, the recording of obviously Johnny Depp made when he was confronting Amber, and Amber was like, "Well, if you didn't wind me up, I wouldn't have to hit you or throw things at you and stuff."
Yeah.
Kind of, where do you stand on that situation? Do you think it's a bit up in the air? There's still not enough evidence for one side or the other? Do you think Amber tried to manipulate the situation? Kind of, where's your thoughts at?
I suppose I'm more aligned with Johnny Depp in this one, but I can't be completely sure.
Yeah, of course.
Of all the facts. But yeah, it's like domestic violence is always. It has to be remembered that it can work both ways.
Yeah.
There are a lot of men victims as well.
Exactly.
There's a lot of cases where things are always it's taken as the woman's side, which is fine in a lot of in the cases.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can be the other way around,
I think for me,
it's difficult to say in this day and age.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think for me personally, it's just you follow the evidence. If the evidence, I mean, at first, admittedly, with the evidence that was being given and with Amber's testimony and things like that and what people were saying, it absolutely looked like Johnny Depp was the one that was being abusive and being horrible. But then, as evidence now is showing, a lot of that has been disproven, and Amber is actually turning out to be the one, maybe. Allegedly, that is possibly the abuser. Honestly, would I find it surprising? Not really. I can't imagine having a relationship, especially with someone like Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. These two huge stars, and let's face it, they probably have huge egos. It's probably not easy, and Johnny Depp very, very honestly and has admitted many times he struggled with alcohol and drugs and things, and I'm sure that wasn't easy if he was going through that stage while he was with Amber, for Amber to deal with. But that doesn't make it right to abuse someone for it.
No.
I think a lot more evidence needs to come out. I think a lot more investigating needs to happen.
Yeah. Needs to be some kind of trial or something.
Yeah, I think they're going through like a settlement or something right now, I believe.
Money makes the world go round, right?
Exactly. It's like, oh, Amber, you pay this much, and it'll all go away. But hopefully, I'd like to see something happen publicly, because quite frankly, I think it's important that this stuff gets sorted and addressed. Publicly, especially when it's
a lot of people will be looking to that case as like an example and an icon.
How easily it can be switched to make someone look like the bad guy when actually they might have been the victim the entire time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Might have.
Might have.
Don't sue me.
Yeah. We don't know the facts. Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure there's wrongs on both sides, of course. But Absolutely. we just get an idea of what we're given, and then
we talk about it. That's all.
Talk about it.
Yeah. So, is that it for news?
Yes.
Ooh, okay, so what we got next? Films and stuff, right?
Well, I was going to do a bit of gaming.
Oh, okay.
Gaming, then films, and then we'll move on to the little surprise at the end.
Yes!
Not that it's a surprise.
Yeah, not anymore.
So obviously big news for the PlayStation 5 next week. There's going to be a little reveal of some sort.
Very excited about that.
They're probably going to show the console, show some of the games off. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I have high hopes for that.
Absolutely. I do have my reservations though, my worries. Especially the backwards compatibility thing. I think before they made a statement, and the last big thing was like they said there'll be at least 100. Why not all of them?
I know, if they're saying that it can play PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 2 games and stuff like that, like, why not PlayStation 4?
Why have that backwards compatibility but not PS4? Or were those things fabricated out of rumour? I'm not too sure. Like, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be clarified, I think, and cleared up from PlayStation, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as for the console and the specs and everything, my God, if they really stick with what they've got, I mean, they've got a hell of a console on their hands. You know, I'm not surprised that would be the last one of its, the last console, I guess, if they are going with the last generation of consoles.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I see no bounds for the end of where technology is going in the future, but it's like, it's already at this stage now. Like, the world is their oyster at this stage, so I'm assuming it's not going to be the last, but, I don't know.
I mean, let's be honest.
If they've said it is, then whatever, or it might be like a different company that comes ahead and does something.
Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Google gave it a go. They've done everything else, they may as well. But, no. I mean, I'm excited, definitely, and I'm looking forward to the announcement and the show next week. Hopefully we'll get some really good titles that are going to come out when it first comes out, and absolutely, I'm definitely hoping that, one thing I did hear, which I'm really glad to hear, is they aren't changing their release date for the PS5 regardless of COVID-19. They have said that the release date this holiday in 2020 is going to be when it's released.
That's good.
So that I'm really, really pleased about. I'm glad they're sticking to it. Hopefully nothing happens to change that. So, absolutely.
I suppose the gaming industry is one of those I suppose everything's been affected, but I suppose it hasn't been affected as much as some other.
I think the gaming industry has had a lot of advantages in the sense that a lot of the gaming stuff, like programming, designing, artwork, things can be done from home. It's just limited, and I think it's certainly a lot harder to do from home. Not being able to work with your team and more efficiently in one place and be able to look at things immediately and change it instead of sending it and things, I guess. Hopefully, I know a lot of games are struggling right now, especially with missing scenes, because obviously they can't do the motion capture for it.
Yeah, that's one of the production sides that's going to suffer the most, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm excited for the PS5, man. Absolutely roaring for it.
A few little facts, I suppose. If Xbox One X. Let's not give PlayStation all.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm a bit more hesitant on the Xbox One X though, because the Xbox One, the S and stuff, when that first came out, the Xbox One was not popular when it first came out, so hopefully they learn from their mistakes and they bring it back in for the Series X.
Yeah. I think Sony have said any games from July onwards have to be natively playable on PS5.
That's good. That's very good.
So it's a bit like, well, I couldn't issue this statement, a bit earlier.
Yeah.
But I suppose developers already known about this for a while.
Yeah. So that'll be like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, definitely. Avengers Endgame. The Marvel Avengers game is going to have to be, Cyberpunk. Obviously, I think everyone knew Cyberpunk was going to be way ahead in that aspect. So.
Also, they've said they're not interested in making the PS5 games compatible with PlayStation 4, which is kind of understandable. Maybe if they've...
I mean, if you look at... I'm quite nerdy when it comes to specs of consoles, so I like looking at stuff. But if you look at the specs from the PS4 or the PS4 Pro, let's say the most recent release, I think, which was back in February or something. I think they had their last kind of release of it or something. Specs on the PS5 compared to the PS4 Pro are hugely different, and I can completely understand why they would want to kind of distance from that console and this one.
Yeah, it's holding them back massively.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think it's definitely going to be a shame, I think, for games that are coming out on the PS4 as well as the PS5, because I think once they come out on the PS4, people see what they're like on the PS5, they're probably going to jump ship very quickly. But I think the only disadvantage they have is TVs. If people haven't got a 4K telly, because let's face it, they're expensive. I mean, is there really any need or point to go for a brand new, console that's going to cost you 500 quid?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money to put on one thing, that you might not see the benefits for.
It's like weighing up the performance boost that you'll be getting, I suppose, rather than the 4K. yeah, it's as good as the TV that you have, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and the main selling point will be the games as well.
Yeah, of course.
It's just you'll be encouraged to move on to the next generation sooner rather than later, I guess, because they want your money.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm hoping. I said this to you before, but obviously I'm not planning on getting a PS5 when it comes out because of the price and everything. But my PS4 is, I believe, slowly dying. So I'm like hoping it holds out.
It's had a little break.
I'm hoping it holds out long enough so I don't have to invest straight away. Because I'd rather get, if my console dies, you know, just before brand new console comes out, just go upgrade it. You know, don't bother going backwards. You know.
I wonder if they'll keep making PS4 games after the PS5 comes out, like separately.
I reckon smaller companies will, absolutely, because it's a way to branch out and get their games out there. You know, so I don't think they're it's normally about a year or two after a new console comes out. I believe they sort of go, okay, we're not going to bother releasing on this anymore because there's enough people with this other console that we can sell this to at this point. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting. Yeah, I don't think I'll be getting PS5 straight away, but depends how long I can go without any new games, which is quite a while from the lack of games that have been coming out recently.
I've just been playing through my backlog. I mean, obviously I'm over in a different house and stuff now, so I've been playing through like my PC backlog, and I've been enjoying it. I can't lie. So it's nice to get some games done.
I heard that Battlefront 2 is going to be on the PlayStation Plus next month, so that's good. It's a shame I already heard it.
Yeah. But no, that's definitely a good game to pick up if you haven't got it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's that and COD World War 2, which has already been put on the Plus lineup for this month, but it is for next month.
Yeah.
And on a quick note on Battlefront 2, it did have its final patch.
It had its final update last month. It's had its final patch this month.
Yeah, for little bug fixes and changing challenges, requirements and stuff. So that is good news. There's a tiny little team still working on it. So we'll hope that maybe there might be a final patch.
Yeah. It's a shame, but I definitely think it's a game that's worth picking up if you haven't got it.
Oh yeah, it's excellent now.
Oh yeah,
can't really complain at it.
It is. That is a game I'm missing a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
I played it yesterday. I was like, oh, it's so good. But yeah, there is a little bit more news on Division 2.
Yes. Okay. I've seen a lot of stuff on this. None of it good. None of it good. I know. Obviously, recently the what was it? The Guardians event.
Yeah. Guardians event on now. It's not very impressive to you.
I've seen a lot of footage. It looks like shit. It doesn't look fun.
I'm not a fan of the global events in general in this game.
Yeah,
I think
I haven't.
The previous game did it better. I think I've read that someone put like global events should be fun, not like a hindrance to the player.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they were in the previous game, but not in this one.
I think I've been watching a YouTuber. He's called Born to Game. Very good. He talks about it quite passionately. You know, he loves the game. I mean, like we do. You know, but he's very right in the sense of what he says is like the devs don't give a shit anymore, really. They've probably got a skeleton team on it. It's why all the next manhunts are just the same bloody thing, just pumped out slightly differently every time. Like there's a random generator apparently behind where it chooses to grab the stuff. So I mean,
yeah, I think it's just like reusing everything that they've done before in like 4 sections, isn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously there's the leak that came out in the past week or two. Obviously there's leaks to the rest of the seasons and the campaigns for those, which is just going to be like audio logs. So it's just going to be the same thing as what we've been doing basically for the past season.
Rough.
There'll be some kind of minor story elements in there with like main characters. I don't give too many spoilers and stuff, but it's kind of interesting, the story element of it. But I'm not looking forward to slogging through the.
Man, I don't even know if I can be bothered.
I know.
That last season really killed it for me. I mean, I love the Division 2, but Christ almighty, they have just done a number on that game. What I wish is if they'd put a little bit more effort into the structure of it. You know, 100 levels sounds like a lot. You're getting through those levels pretty fucking quickly. I think I finished it in the first week. it's I don't know. It's a rough ride to say the least. I want to hear the stories. I want to learn more about what's gone on, but I mean, there was something about like the audio files being bugged for some people, them not getting them.
Yeah, it's a very weird way to just tell your stories.
Well, it's the same issue. I mean, if you think about it, it's the same issue that Fallout 76 had for years.
Yeah.
I mean, Christ, that all their story was told through audio logs and fucking video styles.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't work. It's not interesting enough, you know? A limited amount of collectibles that have story, absolutely, that works. When you make your entire story around listening to shit.
Yeah, audio logs and stuff are supposed to be bonus on top of, of the main meat on the bones. It should just be a side thing.
Doesn't work, man.
But yeah, along with the leaks of the narrative bit, there is a chance that we'll be getting a skyscraper mode.
Yeah.
So they need to back up these kind of seasons with some kind of substantial new content, I suppose, and something like that would help, I suppose.
Yeah.
Skyscraper mode is like some kind of endless PvE horde mode.
Yeah.
Which they apparently found the audio files for or something.
I would like it if that's an actual thing. Brilliant. Until I see it, I don't know if I believe it.
Yeah.
At this point, Massive have messed their trust up with their kind of core fan base so much now that they need to show something for people to give a shit anymore. I think it's just that point now.
And there's like a new raid coming out soon-ish, but if that's the only content they're working on, then that's a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
And yeah, they've got to be working on something, surely.
I mean, the horde mode is not that hard, man. I can't imagine it being that hard.
No, it's basically reused assets. The video game.
Even if you can't be bothered to put the time and effort in, or if you don't have the funds to put time and effort in to make new places, just take a few of the areas from other maps, kind of change them up a bit, maybe merge a couple of them. Boom. Yeah. Have a horde mode there.
Make something how entirely hard can that replayable.
Be? It cannot take that long.
Yeah, it needs to be replayable, interesting, dynamic, changing all the time.
Oh, and another thing as well, quickly, that Guardians event was apparently meant to be in the game 8 weeks ago, or 8 weeks or 8 months, I'm not too sure. It was a pretty hefty amount of time. They were meant to have put that in ages ago, and it's literally one line connected to one guy that you have to kill, and then you can kill everyone else. Like, that's ridiculous. I mean, come on.
They need to get more creative. The team behind us. What is happening with that?
I mean, I think it's just they're burnt out. They're probably being told by higher ups, look, you've got to come up with this over and over. All these different events in a short amount of time, and they have to be quick. You have to make them interesting. And it's
like, none of them are fun or interesting or quick. It seems like they go on forever.
Things take time, man, and when you rush stuff, that's what it looks like. It looks like the Division 2. That's what it looks like when you rush it. And absolutely, I mean, Christ, look at Fallout 76. 2 years, they worked on Wastelanders, really, really fucking focused hard on it. Okay, it's not made the game a masterpiece, don't get me wrong, but it has drastically improved the enjoyability and the playability of that game, tenfold.
Oh yeah, I was playing it the other day. They've got like some new events out. It's very fun. I enjoy playing it, and there's like a roadmap for all different kind of content they're bringing out for that as well. But yeah, so fingers crossed that we're going to get some substantial content for Division 2, but otherwise I'm not kind of bothered either way.
I think at this point
I've lost it.
I'll probably end up getting Division 3, but it'll literally be story stuff. I'll be done. I won't get any of the DLCs, nothing like that. Like, that's why I'm probably not going to buy the rest of the Manhunts. I just can't be bothered. Like,
I mean, what exactly are you paying for there? You're like paying to shoot yourself in the foot. A bit like Destiny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're paying a premium track for a free game, like, almost.
Yeah, literally. At least Destiny's free. You have to fucking pay for the base game.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird decision to make halfway through like that game's like.
Yeah, mad.
But I suppose they still release the DLCs every year. But that's Destiny.
Yes, that is.
So yeah, anything else you'd like to add on gaming?
Gaming wise, I recently went back and played through Left 4 Dead 1. That was a lot of fun. Really cool game.
I remember that.
Yeah, very, very fun game. Really enjoyable. I highly recommend, if you haven't played it, go back and play it. Although, I would say if you are interested in going back and playing it, do it on PC. It's more fun, it works better, it functions better. If not, go to Left 4 Dead 2. You have all the Left 4 Dead 1 campaigns, all the characters, and just a shit ton more weaponry, guns, gore, graphics. Just looks better, so just go Left 4 Dead 2. But the game's brilliant, a lot of fun. I kind of miss playing them with friends and things, but they are enjoyable as any other game, you know.
That was a Microsoft exclusive, wasn't it? That one.
Valve made it.
Right. Okay.
But I think
it wasn't released on PlayStation and stuff.
Yeah. It was Xbox 360 and stuff. Yeah, which was a bit rough, but But another one was like a game called, literally, and I'm not joking, Sorry James. It's on PC, it's a really quick game, it's like a hacking one, you go in, you have to go through all these different text files. It's very, very kind of like story driven, but it takes like 2 hours to complete. Small little fun game. If you fancy it, go check it out. It's a fun little one on Steam. Costs like 60p.
that's
2 hours. So in this lockdown, you know. Other than that, I think I'm pretty much out of gaming stuff, really. Most of it.
All right. Well, we could move on to films and TV series that we may have watched.
Yes.
Would you like me to start? A bit of a juicy one here.
Oh, go on.
Well, basically, I watched a limited TV series on Netflix called Jeffrey Epstein, Filthy Rich.
Yeah, no, I did see that. I haven't watched it yet. I am interested. But,
oh, you should give it a watch. It's a binge-worthy one. But yeah, God, what a guy, a bad guy.
What a twat.
Yeah.
We all knew that.
But yeah, that's the thing with that documentary. Like, we all kind of know how bad he is. It kind of exacerbates and points towards that. I think we already know that, but the good thing was it gave victims a voice in it. Like, it's interesting to see that angle of it, because they're always silenced, aren't they?
Yeah. A lot of the time they are.
It felt like it kind of protected a lot of the culprits who were working with Jeffrey at the time. Like, I mean, we already knew about Trump, Clinton, Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
It kind of focused on them a little bit, but it didn't really bring anyone else to the table, which a lot of the victims were saying, there's like loads of celebrities, loads of politicians, everyone was part of this, you know.
Yeah.
I wish they kind of like named some names rather than wait till they're dead or retired, you know.
Yeah, it's tricky, I guess, because of like lawsuits, and I guess the law comes into it at that point, and it makes it muddy the water and stuff, makes it difficult. So if
they can accuse the likes of Prince Andrew though, and he's royalty.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I reckon when the Queen saw that, she was pretty pissed off.
Andrew!
Oh, for fuck's sake! First you fill up with your fucking car keys, and now him! Mad.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like, I can't believe some of the stuff that this guy was getting away with for so many years, and
I can imagine.
I'm glad he's no longer on this earth anymore.
Definitely something I want to watch and get into, because I'm fascinated by all this stuff, and it amazes me how they get away with it for so long, you know, without a consequence. You know, it's insane, especially when you're that high profile. I mean, Christ, I think it was like Kesha's manager in the past forced her into songs and things like that, and she was, sexually assaulted and things, and it's disgusting. It's like, how in such a huge industry did people just get away with this shit? I don't know.
It's like, with so much wealth comes so much privacy and power and acceptance of it, you know. He had like 3 or 4 properties. He even had his private island in the Caribbean, which a lot of the victims called Pedo Island.
That's what happens.
Which a lot of celebrities and Prince Andrew visited on numerous occasions, you know. People say it's impossible not to know what he was up to if you're around him for any amount of time.
Gross. Fucking disgusting.
And yet all the people who have been accused, like, we weren't that big of friends, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't really know him that much.
And because there's no evidence, they just get away with it.
Yeah.
Fuck. Oh. Foul.
But yeah, I think it could probably talk about that one for a whole podcast.
I'll try and squeeze that in if I can during this week. Now I'll try and watch through it, and then maybe we can talk about it a bit more depth next week.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely make it a goal to try and watch through that, because I did see it and I was like, interested.
I'll definitely watch it. You won't like it, but you'll be intrigued.
You'll be intrigued. You'll find it interesting. Just learn about it and everything.
A morbid curiosity.
Yeah, definitely. On a bit of a lighter news, I watched through the second season of Afterlife again this week. I watched it for the second time. Brilliant series. Ricky Gervais, absolutely applaud his performance in it. It's very moving, very emotional. Definitely should go and watch it if you haven't. Ink Master, a tattoo reality show that has a lot of drama around it right now. A lot of shit.
Right. I can't say I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, people have got into a lot of trouble around that show, and there's lots of lawsuits and stuff that have gone on through it. But as an entertainment kind of guilty pleasure, I guess, I've watched a few seasons of that this week. That's been really cool to watch. If you couldn't guess, I really like tattoos quite a lot. So
I can't see where you get that from.
So yeah, no, been watching that. That's been really cool. What else? I think I started watching through all the Marvel films again, so I've watched Iron Man 1 and Captain America 1 today. It's fascinating when you watch back and see how far back these films are, and like what they've become from where they were. Like it's insane. And just to know that, in Iron Man 1, when Nick Fury had that little cameo at the end, as Samuel Jackson walks in, he's Nick Fury, assembling a team. That was all just a small piss-take cameo. It wasn't meant to turn into the Avengers, and then look where they got to. Fucking Endgame.
Yeah. It's unbelievable how far things can come. Popular things.
Definitely. Iron Man, when did Iron Man come out? That was like 2008?
2007, 2008, wasn't it?
Bloody hell. 12 years.
I can't believe it's 12 years. It's gone by in like a snapshot.
Oh, I know. That is a lot of time. A lot of time.
And a lot of money being made, and the highest grossing film was Endgame. All the merchandise and
so much stuff. But
Disney as well, isn't it?
Very, very enjoyable films.
Popcorn galore.
Well, yeah, popcorn. As people like to call them, popcorn crap, but they are very, very well acted, good films. So highly, highly praise them. I have resisted watching Captain Marvel. That shit can piss off.
No, you should watch it for once.
I mean, I was trying to watch them in chronological order. I actually skipped over Captain Marvel because I was just like, I don't want to. I tried. I think I got about 20 minutes into it, and I was just like, I'm done with this already. You can't have a superhero that is so overpowered, like her, who is literally indestructible. She's above everything.
That's the problem I had with it.
Yeah, and then she's in like the MCU, and it's like that makes no sense, because then what the hell have we ever got to worry about,
Yeah, fair enough if a film like that released when Iron Man released, but not just before the Endgame,
Yeah. Well, this is the problem that DC made. I mean, Christ, the first film they brought out was Superman. That guy is indestructible. The only thing he's weak to is kryptonite, and humans can't get it.
Yeah.
So.
But at least they showed him at the start, like they know what they're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously, Justice League. And everything else. Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn film. Although personally, I like the Harley Quinn film. I like Suicide Squad. I think it's a shame that they misused Joker the way they did. I don't think Jared Leto did a bad job in any right, but that's just me. One thing I will touch on quickly before we come off films and stuff is the Snyder Cut for Justice League has been announced, and it is happening. So that should be, well, it's not going to be a game changer. Let's face it, they're not going to bring back Ben Affleck, or it's going to change the DC universe to make it great. But I'm excited about it, definitely.
Was that Justice League?
Yeah.
That was a very disappointing film, wasn't it?
Yeah, but this is why I think Jason Momoa was like, just fucking released a clip, or like released a film. I think he actually was like really hammering Warner Bros to release it. You had like all the actors that were in it
because he wanted to get his Aquaman role in film.
His Aquaman film was apparently outstanding and really, really good.
Yeah.
Same as Shazam. Shazam was apparently fantastic and really good.
Yeah.
So. I mean, it can be done. It's just, I think they kind of underestimated. You need a story for each of the characters for it to make sense. It's what they did with the Avengers. Yeah.
Wonder Woman was pretty good as well. I was looking forward to the sequel to that.
I don't know. I'm not so stoked about the sequel. The sequel to me is looking kind of disappointing compared to the first one. But
come on, it's got Pedro Pascal in it, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not saying the cast looks great. Don't get me wrong, but I'm much more looking forward to Black Widow than I am to the second Wonder Woman. I think if Black Widow came out around the time of the first Wonder Woman, I'd probably be split even. But the second Wonder Woman to me looks a lot less interesting and fun.
Yeah, it looks a bit campy.
It looks a lot more catered to one crowd, shall we say, compared to the first one, which was just about a badass, superhero race that she could kick ass and do what she needed to do. So
it showed her through time and in the wars and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I enjoyed that aspect of Wonder Woman. Shame about the Justice League, the fact that she's just been made into this. I don't know.
But there we are.
Yeah. But hopefully that Snyder cut will be good.
Yeah.
I know he likes to make his own cuts of many of his films.
I think he's a very talented director, and I think he gets a lot of shit when his films get released. But I think a lot of it is studio interference, as it has been with most of the fucking films he's made. It's very rare he's actually been given a film and they've gone nuts. They're like, no, cut this out, get rid of this. We want that there. This has to be there. That looks like this. Like, especially Warner Bros. Warner Bros. Are notorious for pissing around with their films.
Oh yeah. It's like if a director accepts one of those films, they're not accepting the creative aspect of the film. They're just kind of just a name there. It's almost like a big group of restrictions being put on.
Exactly.
It's like,
absolutely. It's why the first Suicide Squad was so muddled and all over the place, because the footage that was shot was basically all reshoots, because the film was completely different when they first made it. So shame, but there we are.
That's one of my least favourite aspects of films and film production, is the monotonous, the stringent power from above that you've got to follow, like lack of creativity.
Yeah.
But that's a separate topic again.
It is.
But yeah.
Is that it?
I think that's it for film and TV. Ooh. So we could move on to our conspiracy.
The final thing for today. Which
I think
obviously we were going to do a separate video.
We were.
But
things get in the way.
Yeah, you had life. I had shit going on too. We were busy. We're busy people. In this lockdown world, we're so busy.
I think with relation to this podcast, it's like it's a good once a week thing. We don't want to. I quite like the variation of stuff we focus on. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a wide variety.
Yeah, there's always something new to talk about. Whereas if we're kind of just focusing on one, it might, I don't know. But that's something we'll talk about anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So the conspiracy theory today is the Bermuda Triangle. Whew. It's one of my favourite ones out there.
So, man, that's heavy.
It's a good one. It's one of my favourite ones out there. Personally, I do have my own opinions of it, though. However, so what's kind of your opinions of it before we get into it and stuff? Kind of, what's your view on it? What do you think it is?
Well, before we get into it, I suppose I'm a bit of a skeptic. Shall we give like a little rundown of what the Bermuda?
You're doing it now. I mean, do you want to do it or shall I?
Yeah, it's basically a small region in western part of the North Atlantic.
It's small. It's about a 1 million square mile plot of the Earth.
In context of the world.
Yeah, in context of the world, it's pretty fucking small. I'm not going to lie to you.
A series of islands such as Puerto Rico and Bermuda roughly make up a triangle shape.
Yeah.
Obviously, lots of kind of mysterious aircrafts and ships going missing in this place, and it's kind of focused on for a lot of attention of things going missing, basically.
Yeah. A lot of other conspiracies are also linked to it. Obviously, Amelia Earhart being one of the most famous, one of the best female pilots to ever live. Obviously, disappeared during one of the flights that she was doing around the globe, and she was going to be the first woman to do it, and she went missing in this area as well. So, just as a quick rundown from it, the Bermuda Triangle is also known as the Devil's Triangle, the Hurricane Alley.
Yeah.
It's loosely defined as the region in the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean where a number of aircraft and ships are said to have disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Ooh. Yeah. So, pretty heavy one. The vicinity of the Bermuda Triangle is almost a heavily travelled shipping lanes in the world, with ships frequently crossing through it in ports in America, Europe and the Caribbean islands. Cruise ships and pleasure craft regularly sail through the region, and commercial and private aircraft routinely fly over it as well. Obviously, big part of this as well. If you go on like YouTube, you can type in like cruises and stuff that are going through it, and you can see how rough the waters are there. Like they are rough. But yeah,
well, it's right on the Gulf Stream or something.
Yeah, there's
from the Gulf of Mexico.
Magnetic plates that actually are overlapping in this one area as well, which could explain some of the stuff we're going to get into later. The phenomena that is seen in this area. So, well, do you want to give? Shall I give the origins quickly, and then you can go through a few, or do you want to go first?
You can give the origins if you'd like.
Yeah, go on. I'll quickly do it. It's not too long. So the earliest suggestion of unusual disappearances in the Bermuda area was in September 17th, 1950. An article published in the Miami Herald was done by Edward Van Winkle Jones. What a name. Wow. 2 years later, Fate magazine published A Sea Mystery at Our Back Door. Basically, this continued on for the next few years, different articles and things going on. And then there was also, what was it? There was a sand covering that lost of several planes and ships, including the loss of Flight 19. For those of you who don't know, Flight 19 was the designation of a group of five Grumman TBM Avenger torpedo bombers that disappeared over the Bermuda Triangle on December 5th of 1945. These were basically like a fleet of really, really advanced planes for the time, and they just disappeared. No trace, nothing. There were some recorded like sort of signals and stuff they'd sent back, kind of communication between the two, how they couldn't find stuff. Their compasses weren't working, which is a very, very frequent thing that we'll see as we go through some of these incidents as well. I won't read too much about the origin, guys. Just if you want to go see it, the link for the Wikipedia is down below. But that's the general gist. From this stuff has been going on since September 17th, like back in like 1745. I think the first sighting of it was done by a sailor. I can't remember his name, which really famous sailor there at the time. But yeah. What did you find?
Obviously, it's a really big area for debate. I suppose there's a lot of skeptics involved in this.
Absolutely, yeah.
In this kind of thing. I think there's one called Larry Kush.
Yes, Larry Kush is one of the most famous ones for it. He sold it.
He's an author who's also a skeptic. He wrote the Bermuda Triangle Mystery, Solved in 1975. He claimed that many claims of Gaddis and subsequent writers were exaggerated, dubious, or unverifiable. He's basically arguing that there's always some kind of natural explanation for these things that are happening. Some people believe that there's maybe some kind of supernatural element to it, or a paranormal element. But yeah, that's just a back text to. There are criticisms to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you I highly suggest if you're interested in this conspiracy, definitely look up Larry Kush. He has a lot of factual information, which is really interesting to go through, and it does give you another perspective of the Bermuda Triangle and what could possibly be causing it. It's actually one of the things we're going to be getting into later when I go through some of the theories as to what it could be. So we'll see. Definitely an interesting guy as well.
Yeah. But yeah, so shall we go into some of the cases, or?
Absolutely. There are so many to go through. By the way, we're not going to go through them all.
No.
There's three different types of incidents which we will go through. There's incidents on land, there's incidents at sea, and obviously there's incidents by aircraft. So we'll pick and choose a few of them, kind of discuss them, I guess, but we're not going to go through them all. There are loads. So I highly recommend, if you want to see all of the information about it, go look it up, man. There's so much. You could spend hours talking about this one thing. Like, it's insane. So do you want to kind of switch back and forth? You do one and then I'll do one, or kind of go like that?
Yeah, sure.
So you go first, my friend. You
all right. All right, well, I'll do this one. It's an aircraft, Douglas DC-3. On December 28th, 1945, a Douglas DC-3 aircraft, number NC16002, whatever the relevance of that is, disappeared while on a flight from San Juan, Puerto Rico to Miami. No trace of the aircraft or the 32 people on board was ever found. A Civil Aeronautics Board investigation found that there was sufficient information available on which to determine probable cause of the disappearance. It doesn't say that. Okay. So yeah, aircraft going missing.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with these things is that they all have their own little stories and information behind it, but to find it all, like, I mean, I've got 3, I think, that I've chosen to talk about instance-wise, but I've got a little bit of information behind the scenes as well.
Okay.
But yeah, no, absolutely. It's a tricky one, man. That is one that I did come across, but there is so little information about it. It's just a case of it flew into the cycle, they didn't get a reply or a response, and then suddenly it was gone. There was no trace of it in the water. There was no physical evidence to prove that it crashed. But I mean, if you're in the middle of an ocean, it can sink.
Yeah. Chances are it crashed into the water.
And unfortunately, that is a huge part of kind of, you know, people being skeptical about it being a paranormal site. It's just, well, there's water. It's deep. You know, it's deeper than most of the parts of the ocean, apparently, under the Bermuda Triangle. So simply, it could have just sunk. That's
this
not area.
This area of water is like known for being bloody stormy and rough, and obviously it's called the Hurricane Valley or something.
Yeah.
So things are going to get wrecked around and swept around, and it's part of the Gulf Stream. Things are going to get carried away, undercurrents, like dragged under. So that could be a possible explanation for it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of information to it, but yeah, man. So I'll get onto this one quickly. In 1918, USS Cyclops, one of the most famous cases of disappearance during this time, was left Barbados on the March the 4th, lost with all 306 crew and passengers en route to Baltimore, Maryland. So a little bit of history. The incident, resulting in the single largest loss of life in the history of the US Navy not related to combat, occurred with the Collier Cyclops, carrying a full load of magnesium ore, and with one engine out of action, went missing without a trace, and with a crew of 306, sometime after March 4th, 1918. After they obviously departed. Although there is no strong evidence for any single theory, many independent theorists exist, some blaming storms, some capitalizing, some suggesting the wartime enemy activity was to blame for the loss. In addition, 2 of the Cyclops' sister ships, Protesters and Nereus, were subsequently lost in the North Atlantic during World War II. Both ships were transporting heavy loads of metallic ore, similar to which one was on the Cyclops' final voyage. Unfortunately, in all 3 cases, structural failure due to overloading with a much denser cargo than designed is considered the most likely cause of sinking. The reason this one is so curious and all over the place is because there were signals sent out from the USS Cyclops that did get back to base saying that they were absolutely fine, no problems at all, and then just suddenly gone. Obviously, as I said, you know, the most likely theory to it is that they were just overloaded with a heavier substance than they were accustomed to having, and it just sunk. There was nothing left to it. So
with things like that, obviously no witnesses to it.
Exactly.
It's like people have got to kind of assume that it was this denser cargo, and
306 people. Don't
overloading
get me wrong, is a lot of people. A lot of people to just lose. But I mean, if there's no one around, you're in a position and a part of the ocean where it's fucking known for not being able to contact people and get out there. I wouldn't be surprised if it just was a horrible accident. Whether it was or not, we don't know. It's an unsolved case, but absolutely, I wouldn't put it past just being a natural occurrence.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your next one?
So I'll stick with my flying ones, I think. So you obviously, there's a bit of a World War I reference with your one. So this is the World War II, Flight 19. Flight 19 was a training flight of 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers and disappeared on December 5th, 1945, while over the Atlantic. The squadron's flight plan was concluded to take them due east from Fort Lauderdale for 141 miles north. The disappearance was attributed to by Navy investigators to navigational error, leading to the aircraft to run out of fuel. But yeah, interesting one.
Yeah, running out of fuel. Now, this is actually a thing that has been proven that when people go through the Bermuda Triangle, they do tend to apparently travel a lot faster. There was an incident where a guy was travelling through in a plane and actually managed to travel a distance of 90 minutes worth of travel in 40 minutes. That is documented. It happened. It was an actual thing. So that is kind of leading on to the abnormal side of it, I guess, you know, running out of fuel. So going into there, you'd think that they would have checked their fuel and stuff, but then this comes back on the idea that compasses don't work in there because of the magnetic overlinings. They think that's why compasses may be shot to shit when they're really going through it. I don't know, man. Stuff like that to me is more interesting because, you know, you think when you're going through an aircraft, you check all this stuff. You know how much fuel, you know the journey you're going on. So how would you run out of fuel? You know where you're going. So, I don't know. The aircraft ones seem a lot more kind of plausible to be more, I guess, paranormal, if I was to call it anything, than, you know, sort of grounded in logic. But I don't know, man. It's a tricky one to fight.
It is.
At that point, you're just going, I don't know, spooky stuff. You know. So, to quote one of my favourite shows, but yeah, no, absolutely, very, very strange.
Yeah, there are all kinds of explanations, I suppose, as to what could have happened. You know, human error, hurricanes. Yeah, it's just like it's putting it down to like the most likely of occurrences, which is probably running out of fuel, crashing into the ocean.
Yeah, exactly. That's the most likely one, anyway. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man.
Feel free to try out another one.
Yeah, there's another ship one here. It's another well-known one. It's a Carroll A. Deering, a 5-masted schooner built in 1919. Carroll A. Deering was found hard aground and abandoned at Diamond Sculls near Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, on January 31st, 1921. So a good 2 years after it went missing. Rumours and more at the time indicated Deering was a victim of piracy. Possibly connected with the illegal rum-running trade during Prohibition and possibly involving another ship, Hewitt, which disappeared at roughly the same time. Just hours later, an unknown steamer sailed near the lightship, a long track of Deering, and ignored all the signals from the lightship. It is speculated that Hewitt may have been the mystery ship and possibly involved in Deering's crew's disappearance. So, during the time of this happening, obviously back in like the early 1900s and you know 1990, between 1990 and 1921, this is during a time where, you know, piracy was a really, really heavy thing, you know, going through that area. So, I mean, absolutely, but normally when it's piracy, they sunk the ships after it. The ship wouldn't normally be found boarded up on one of the islands very close by. Which led people to believe, obviously, that it's a bit more to it when they looked back on it and they saw like all this information and things about it.
Yeah.
Whether or not it could be classed as paranormal, I really don't know. That's a tricky one. I mean, it makes sense, but for me, I don't know. There's not a lot there to kind of. I mean, it's simple. They could have easily have crashed and then got boarded by the pirates.
Yeah.
But the fact that it wasn't found for 2 years, that's what gets me. Like, that's the thing that really sort of trips me up a bit, and I'm a bit like,
Yeah. This one especially, I think, leads me to believe that there's something mysterious going on with this, because there's not many facts, and the fact that it involves piracy and stuff like that, it's like,
Very much an older a case as well, obviously, and older cases obviously are harder to get the evidence for and things like that. So obviously it's easier to kind of, I guess, make that leap of being able to trying to see both sides of the coin here. You know, obviously it's a bit easier when you go back in time and you're like, oh well, that was such a long time ago. 2 years is a long time, but then when you think about it, you go, well, I mean, to travel from place to place, I mean, Roanoke Island, you know, one of the most famous conspiracies out there, and one we may touch on in the future, just as an example. It took 3 years to get from there to Europe. And one person travelled from there to Europe and then had to wait a few months before travelling back. So it was 6.5 years before he got back there. You know. So I mean, if you're thinking of it like that way, it's a much, much different kind of system in place. Possibly timing may have been a thing of why the ship wasn't found for so long. You know.
I'm out of examples, but you can feel free to carry on with your.
Okay, give me a second.
I didn't want to go through every single one of them, but
yeah, no, absolutely. There is. By the way, these are just, even if you go on the Wikipedia, there is only a fraction of the number of different ones that I like seeing that. It's insane. Like, there were so many. I think we'll end the last one on Flight 19.
Well, I did actually do that one.
You did that one, yeah. I just realised. Silly me. Right, we'll go with Because there's so many to choose from.
KC-135 Stratotankers. That sounds interesting.
Ooh. Go on,
do you want me
to
read that one out? Okay. On August 28th, 1963, a pair of US Air Force KC-135 Stratotankers aircraft collided and crashed into the Atlantic 300 miles west of Bermuda. Some writers say that while the two aircrafts did collide, there were two distinct crash sites, separated by over 160 miles of water. However, Cush's research showed that the unclassified version of the Air Force investigation report revealed that debris fields defining the second crash site were examined by a search and rescue ship and found to be a mass of seaweed and driftwood tangled in an old buoy. So Cush was obviously trying to like disprove any kind of paranormal incident with that one, saying there was just one crash.
There's always one answer. Again, another interesting one. Two crash sites massively distanced apart.
This is involving like two aircrafts crashing into each other. Like the chances of that happening, like
it's unlikely. What was the time period for this again?
1963.
Yeah, so even back then they had a lot of technology that was able to kind of be like, there's a plane coming this way, I can be more careful and go around.
Air traffic system,
Yeah, I mean, definitely not as advanced as it is now, but strange one, man. A lot of crashes take place in that area.
It just had to be in the Bermuda Triangle.
Just a bit of history though on that sailor that I was talking about before. Obviously this was one of the first instances that actually happened while he was going through that area of the Bermuda Triangle. He obviously experienced really rough seas. It was abnormal. He described the waves as 50 to 100 foot high, ridiculous waves that didn't exist anywhere in the world. He explained seeing balls of light in the air, like electricity flowing around and things, UFOs and stuff going past.
Some people say that the water is green as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of paranormal stuff, but that's just a little bit of history before we get into the theories. The first theory, obviously, it's just a naturally rough area for boats and things like that. They attribute a lot of the natural causes and stuff like ship sinking and things like that just to the sense that it's just a naturally dangerous part of the ocean. There's a lot of waves. It's very dangerous. It's powerful there. The winds are higher. Like I mentioned before, the two plates that reach in the middle and they connect. It's the only place in the world where I think it's magnetic north and magnetic east. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but they connect. Which explains, compass problems, directional problems, time management issues because they don't know where they're going. There's a lot of that kind of stuff that lines up into it being more natural kind of occurrence rather than, one of the other theories that we're going to get into. I believe
it's on a kind of Gulf Stream. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh no.
And apparently that causes mud volcanoes underwater, which release methane hydrants, to be a bit scientific about it. It's basically bubbles, which apparently affect the buoyancy of ships. So therefore, it's more likely if a ship sinks there, it's going to sink deep. If it crashes, it is going to sink or fails. And if there is stormy waters and things. But yeah, so higher tectonic activity around there as well.
Yeah, definitely. It is a difficult one. The second theory is, I've only got two, so I didn't do enough research. But because I've tried not to kind of copy anyone else's stuff and things because there's a lot of stuff that's been done on it, so I wanted to kind of try and keep it unique to us. The second theory is obviously more supernatural. So it's like a supernaturally filled area. There's a lot of energy there possibly that's causing these tornadoes, like swirl tornadoes, or water spouts I believe they're called, like water tornadoes. There's a lot of evidence to show that there could possibly be a strong magnetic field which could be creating that energy, so it could just be haunted by a lot of the people that have crashed there and died and ghosts and things, And then obviously the third theory that I've got is aliens. Now, aliens. There's been sightings there that have possibly been, aliens and stuff. There are videos and footage evidence. A lot of it is very skeptical and a bit sketchy. Doesn't look great. Kind of footage of like UFOs and stuff being seen in Bermuda Triangles during like cruise ships and things like that. There's many plane pilots that have described, there was one in particular that described that he was being followed by a circular objective ship that was basically following every movement he made, first being above him and then suddenly being below him and then disappearing completely. That is a recorded conversation that guy had with the radio tower. I definitely suggest looking up. There's going to be a lot of links down below to like the Wikipedia page. There's a great BuzzFeed Unsolved episode on it. I'll link that down below. Go and watch that. It's really good. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that it could possibly be extraterrestrial life that is in the area. That's why there's crashes. That's why these ships just disappear completely, it seems, off of the face of the Earth, and all the passengers are gone as well. So, a lot of different stuff there.
There is one paranormal theory I've found.
Go on.
Which apparently some guy has decided that the remnants of the mythical continent of Atlantis is actually below the Bermuda Triangle. So that could be a reason why a lot of ships disappear.
This also is one they talk about on Unsolved. I'll give my opinion on it now. No. No.
It's an interesting one.
It's not a thing. How do they breathe? It's magical.
Mermaids and shit.
I don't know. I mean, I can't disprove it. Of course not. But I think that's really stretching it. So out of those 4 theories that we've got then, so the first one is kind of just natural inclination and stuff. That it's just a naturally dangerous area and spot, that it's all natural kind of stuff. That's why planes crash and stuff like that. Do you think it's natural? Do you think it's possibly a kind of spiritual thing that's attached there after so many accidents and incidents? Do you think it's aliens? Or do you think it's Atlantis? And it's just
100% Atlantis.
they just attack them when they see things, that like shoot it down. We'll have
it was the mermaids. It was the mermaids.
They're like Trump. We need that. Take it down.
Spring out of the water. You're going back to China.
Yeah, you're going back to China.
No, I'm definitely in the camp of it being kind of natural occurrences. There's a lot of debate on how big the triangle actually is. Some people say it's 500,000 square miles. Others say it's 1.5 million square miles. It depends on the writer of the incident. Like, if it happened in the Bermuda Triangle, there's apparently a 2013 study where the Worldwide Fund for Nature identified the world's 10 most dangerous waters for shipping, and Bermuda Triangle wasn't even on the list.
Yeah.
So I'm more in the camp of it being some kind of natural elements to it, like the Gulf Stream, and it being a very kind of stormy area. It's unfortunate a lot of crashes and stuff have happened there, but some things are coincidences, I believe.
I would agree. I think it's difficult. I think I'm on the camp of just sort of not sure whether it could. I'm not saying that it's definitely not aliens. I'm not saying it is aliens. I think there's a possibility that maybe some of the incidents that have happened there, as described by the pilots and stuff, maybe some of the incidents have been extraterrestrial encounters. Whether I could say for 100% sure or not, I don't know. But I am definitely leaning more towards it being a realistic, just a naturally dangerous spot. There's a lot of evidence that adds up to that. Compasses and things not working is just the magnetic plates underneath lining up. The choppy seas and the water spouts is just naturally a very friction-induced area with a lot of, as you said, mud volcanoes underneath the waters and stuff. Not Atlantis. And just a lot of just dangerous moments that come there. High winds, speeds and stuff. That's why you have the water tornadoes and things that are normally captured there. There's footage of those things. They don't look unnatural. They just look very scary. I think, absolutely, it's more of a natural just hotspot for danger, more than it is for aliens. But I certainly wouldn't suggest that aliens have never visited there or never possibly had an incident with like some pilots or something. But I think there's definitely a hell of a lot more evidence to suggest it's completely natural. it's not a dangerous zone at all. But
Team Skeptic wins.
Team Skeptic wins this time. I will find a conspiracy that will turn you. I will.
Yeah. In case you hadn't realised, James is the paranormal guy.
More so. I lean more towards paranormal, but if there is sufficient evidence, then I do try to disprove stuff that. Because I think it's doing an injustice if you just go. If I was just to sit you and go, no, it's aliens or Atlantis. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's outlandish as shit. But if I was to sit here and just fight for aliens, I feel like that would be ridiculous, because some of them are clearly just incidents that have happened as we described. They're incidents that just happened, whether it was piracy or just an accident. That's like saying the Titanic. Oh, that was all planned from the beginning. The government did it. No, it was an accident. They hit an iceberg. It's. I think more evidence here suggests that the Bermuda Triangle is all natural. It's just an unfortunately dangerous hotspot. And, in evidence it shows it's not actually any more dangerous than any other part of the ocean.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's tons of vanishings and ships going missing and planes crashing and many other parts of the sea.
I think it's more so. I think there's more evidence to do with paranormal stuff during aircraft, more than anything. I think.
Yeah.
Aircraft seem to have more incidents where they're encountering weird things, and their compass is not working, their sat nav's not working, like that kind of stuff. So absolutely, there's something weird there. It's mostly just natural.
Yeah.
We can both agree on that.
Yes, 100%.
But, yeah, definitely go and check out the links down below if you want to learn anything more about that yourself. So yeah, I think that
was an interesting one.
It was a good one. Slightly longer than last week's, but obviously we didn't have to rush or anything this time, so it was a bit nicer. Take our time and enjoy it. Talking about fucking Atlantis.
I've got to go watch Aquaman.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you to anyone that has watched this. I know it's been a bit weird having it on demand and not being able to kind of see us live and stuff, but
you get to see our beautiful faces there.
Exactly.
That's a bit about it.
Maybe we'll carry this on. Who knows? Maybe we'll enjoy it that much we'll not want to do it live ever again. But yeah, thank you very much to anyone who's watching. Obviously, as always, thank you to Sean for joining me for this lovely conversation that we have. And yeah, I think we'll see you guys next week for another conspiracy and a bunch of other news and fun gaming and film, TV stuff.
Well, I catch you all next week.
Bye.
Hope you have fun.
Yes.